Every once in a while, you'll get an invite to an event where you're going to be dressed to the nines and you need a fragrance to match the vibe. Whether it's a black tie event or a work Christmas party or something formal, something fancy, a fancy dinner, anything where you're going to be dressed up, like really, really dressed up, you need a fragrance that's going to match. I have some fragrances for you today that I think would be perfect for those kind of events. Most of these fragrances are quite unisex, so I think the guys are going to like this list, but also they're fragrances that I have, so they're not too masculine because I don't wear anything that's too masculine. I think a lot of these are perfectly in the middle. However, there is one fragrance that I think is particularly feminine. So stay tuned for my recommendations for special occasion, formal occasion type of fragrances. And if you're the kind of girl that likes strictly feminine fragrances, you don't want to wear anything that a man would wear, then I also have one on this list for you as well. So let's get straight into the video. The first fragrance on this list, to no surprise to a lot of you, is a rose oud fragrance, but I think this is a really elegantly done rose oud fragrance, and that is Rose d'Arabie by Armani Privé. Now this fragrance is elegance in a bottle. So elegant, so smooth. Like, this fragrance is just so well blended. Literally has 4 notes: rose, oud, vanilla, patchouli. That's it in this fragrance. And the way they blended it is just so gorgeous. It's a simple fragrance in that it's a rose oud that doesn't have a lot of other notes going on, a lot of other additions to it. It doesn't have, like, even though it has vanilla, it's not gourmand at all or anything like that. It's a really simple rose and oud fragrance, but I think the simplicity makes it as gorgeous as it is. So the vanilla in here adds a lovely smooth sweetness. It's just so gorgeous, and I feel like it really brings out the rose and makes the rose like really pretty and really, you know, like a sweet rose. It's nice when rose has a little bit of sweetness. That's what I like anyway. I love a rose that has a bit of sweetness, and I think that adding the vanilla with the rose helps to make this fragrance a little bit more unisex and not too masculine. Because sometimes rose and oud combinations can be really, really heavy on the oud and really heavy on the woods, and the rose might not have a lot of sweetness, but this definitely has the sweetness without being too much. And I think the patchouli in here is really subtle. It's sort of in the background because, you know, patchouli can make a fragrance smell a bit earthy, a bit maybe even dirty. Oud can do that as well, of course, but I think in here there's no like dirtiness to any of these notes. The patchouli is really subtle. The oud is really smooth. It's not animalic at all. And it just smells really smooth and well blended. Just absolutely gorgeous fragrance, and I just think it's so elegant. I honestly think elegant is the perfect word to describe this fragrance. I'd recommend this for men and for women. I think anyone can enjoy this. It's such a good rose oud fragrance. And I'm not the biggest like fan of rose and oud. Like, that's not really a fragrance category or a fragrance scent profile that I really gravitate towards anymore. I kind of did for a short amount of time, but I still really, really respect this fragrance. So that is Rose d'Arabie by Armani Privé. So the second fragrance on this list has kind of a similar vibe to Rose d'Arabie, but there's a lot more notes going on in this fragrance. It's not as simple, and that is Cairo by Penhaligon's. So this is a fragrance that is not a rose oud, but it does have rose and it does have woods. And I think it's another like opulent smelling type of fragrance. Less elegant than Rose d'Arabie, but definitely smells opulent, luxury. It's got some saffron in there. Saffron, I find, really does make a fragrance smell super luxury. And yeah, like when I first got this fragrance a couple of years ago, more than a couple, probably like 3 years ago, maybe even 4. I was like scared to wear it because I just thought I don't have any business wearing this anywhere that I was going. And at that time I was actually going to work most of the time. I was like, I don't have any business wearing this to work. After a while I kind of, you know, came out of that and started wearing it a bit more, but I was like, this is really, it's giving like special occasion for real. And I didn't want to wear it casually. And I think, you know, it's not a fragrance that is so special occasion that you cannot wear it outside of that. But I definitely think this would be an amazing fragrance if you're going somewhere special and you're really dressed up, you got a gown on or you got on a tuxedo. Same thing with Rose Darby. I think they're both very elegant. But this one I think has a bit more going on. There's quite a few notes in here. So at the top, you've got damask rose and saffron. In the middle, there's some vanilla, cypriol oil, and labdanum. And in the base, sandalwood, patchouli, and cedar. The patchouli in this fragrance is a lot more prominent than in Rose Darby. It's making the fragrance more earthy. It's got a bit more grit, this fragrance. It's not as smooth. Definitely not as smooth as Rose Darby. Rose Darby? Rose Darby. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that fragrance. This has a lot more grit, earthiness in the background. But then it's also got some vanilla, and I think the vanilla in this fragrance comes across as more chocolatey to me. When I started to wear this, I was like, oh, it's got a bit of a chocolate vibe somewhere. And I think it's really nice. It complements the fragrance a lot. And then there's rose in here, mostly in the top. As the fragrance develops, it gets a lot more woody and a lot sweeter as well. And yeah, I just think this is a really good option for men and for women. I think everyone can enjoy this. When I first got this, or when I first got a sample of this, I thought, oh, this is gorgeous, but definitely too masculine for me. But I think I've evolved since then. I think like there's enough rose and sweetness in here for women to enjoy. Even if you're a bit like me, you prefer feminine leaning fragrances. I definitely do prefer feminine leaning, but I think this is, kind of bang in the middle. So yeah, that's Cairo by Penhaligon's. So the third fragrance on this list is a fragrance that I think the men will love. Men seem to love this fragrance a lot, and I feel like the women, they're not really loving this one. I don't know. But this is Ganymede, however you pronounce it. This fragrance I think is gorgeous. It is so unique. I've honestly never smelled anything like this fragrance before. It really, really is gorgeous. But as someone that likes really feminine fragrances, I can kind of see why women don't gravitate to this as much. It definitely does smell like something you'd wear on a special occasion. There's some saffron in here and it really does smell luxurious. Very unique. There's some mineral notes in here that make this, it just takes this in a different direction, but it definitely does smell luxurious. It's a little bit dry, and I think there's not a lot of sweetness going on in here, and I think that's something that maybe the men appreciate and the women don't appreciate as much. And to be honest, I like to layer this fragrance. So I started layering this fragrance with Halfeti from Penhaligon's, and I honestly just think they're a match made in heaven. So now I wouldn't consider wearing this without wearing it with Halfeti. Like, I just wouldn't. I feel like Halfeti has, the rose and, some of the notes that I crave in a fragrance. I think Halfeti maybe has vanilla, I can't remember. But it just has a bit more sweetness to offer than this fragrance. Sounds like I'm not selling it, but I do think this would be amazing for a special occasion. Someone wearing a suit. I think the men will love this fragrance. It really is just gorgeous. So the notes, at the top we've got saffron and Italian mandarin. Then in the middle we've got Chinese osmanthus and immortelle and violet leaf. And then in the base, mineral notes, suede, akigala wood, musk, cedar and patchouli. So there's quite a lot going on in here, and it's just one of those fragrances you need to get your nose on, because you won't really be able to imagine what this smells like until you smell it. You probably haven't smelled anything like this before. It really is unique, kind of smells like it's from out of this world. You definitely get the mineral notes in there, but in the best way possible. I think it's done really beautifully. The saffron makes this quite dry. I feel like it's quite a dry fragrance, and even when I mix it with Halfeti, it's quite a dry combination. Like, Halfeti is quite spicy, it's a little bit dry itself, it's got saffron in the top as well. It's a very like dry, spicy kind of combination, which doesn't sound super, super feminine, and it's not, but it's gorgeous. And to be honest, like, I wore that combination when I went out to dinner with my boyfriend, and he's not someone that really cares that much about fragrance. Like, he doesn't really comment that much about fragrance at all. But when I wore this, he was like, whoa, like, you smell really good. So for me, that means a lot, because he doesn't really think too much about fragrances. Like, yeah, he's not super into it like I am. And because he said that I smell so good when I wear this, that definitely makes me think, it's not a masculine combination. And Ganymede, maybe by itself, is a bit more masculine, but if you're one of the girls that likes feminine fragrances, that would be a nice combination to try. So yeah, I just think this is such a good fragrance. It's not like a wintry fragrance like Rose d'Arabie and Cairo have a little bit more of a winter vibe. This doesn't have that. It's definitely a lot more spring, summer. Like if you had a black tie event to go to in the summer, like a summer evening, I think this would be perfect for that. Those mineral notes make it a little bit fresh, but it is a little bit dry, not very sweet. It just smells really good. It's quite bright. And yeah, I think this is a fantastic fragrance. Honestly, I think it's amazing. Quite light and airy and bright, a little bit fresh, a little bit dry. And yeah, I think it's a fantastic fragrance for a special occasion. So yeah, that is Ganymede. So the next fragrance on this list is one that I've been sampling, and it's from Initio. And guys, I have been trying to find an Initio fragrance for me for years. I've smelled probably all of them by now, and I don't know, I just feel like maybe Initio is just not the brand for me. I think there's a certain aspect to all of their fragrances that just doesn't really vibe with me, and I thought that this fragrance was me finally finding the Initio for me. I'm not sure, I'm still testing it, but that is Blessed Baraka. So I am still testing this fragrance, but when I smelled it, I thought, wow, like this definitely smells like something special. Definitely smells like something you'd want to wear if you're dressed up. It doesn't smell like something you just want to wear to work or going on errands or anything like that. It definitely has some presence to it. It definitely has a little bit of luxury, and it just smells like something you wear when you're dressed to the nines, to me. So I'll read you the notes. It's just got amber, sandalwood, musk, vanilla, and white flowers. That's it. Quite simple. People say this is quite a masculine fragrance. I think it's quite unisex, but I can see why. It's quite woody, it's quite dry, but it's got a bit of sweetness in there that I do like. Something about it is very intriguing. It makes me want to keep sniffing. Yeah, it smells a little bit peculiar to me. Yeah, this one is a bit of an enigma to me. I'm kind of like, am I in love with this or is it not for me? Like I'm in two places, but I definitely think objectively, a very good fragrance to wear if you're dressed up. I think like I can imagine someone wearing a suit and putting this on and just like filling the room and just smelling just so good. Like it really is a good fragrance. Yeah, something about it honestly really gets me. When I take a really strong whiff of it, I'm like, wow, this is really good. This is a fragrance that I haven't made my mind up about just yet, but I do think it's a good fragrance and I'm enjoying wearing it at the moment. Maybe I'd like it more if I was to find like something to layer it with, possibly kind of like Ganymede and Halfeti, maybe, because I really do want to find an Initio for me, because I'm not gonna lie, I love the bottles. I absolutely adore Initio bottles, and I really want one. I recently got rid of Musk Therapy. Rehab's on its way out. Like I want one, especially one of the darker colors, like the purple or the black. I think they look really good. So yeah, Blessed Baraka. I think the men will definitely like this, but women, try and get your nose on this one. I think you might really enjoy it. The sweetness in here is quite addictive. Something about it is just so intriguing. I think it would be really good if you are, trying to show out, trying to show off. You're dressed up, dressed to the nines, and yeah, this is a good fragrance to throw on, I think. So the next fragrance is a very famous fragrance by MFK, and that is Grand Soir. I have a really small sample of this fragrance at the moment, and it's one that I never used to like many years ago, but I've really grown to appreciate the sweetness and the warmth about this fragrance. And I definitely think it smells like something you wear to a really big event, an important event, something that somewhere that you just need to show out, you need to show off, you need to show that like you are that girl, that guy, that kind of fragrance. It's a very warm, ambery type of fragrance, but it's very sweet. Like I find it really, really sweet. And I think that's made me warm up to it a lot more. But I think, yeah, I'm not sure about getting myself a bottle just yet, but I have been enjoying it. I think maybe, possibly I prefer this one on a man rather than wearing it myself. So I think this is an incredible fragrance for a special occasion. I'm going to read the notes. So at the top, we've got Spanish, labdanum and orange. In the middle, we've got lavender and CM benzoin. And then in the base, there's some amber, vanilla, tonka bean, musk and cedar. So amber, vanilla, tonka bean, like there's some sweetness in here. I find it really, really sweet. But I definitely think it does smell grand. It does smell like, you know, fancy. And yeah, sweet in a luxurious way, not sweet in a gourmand way. Not that gourmand is not luxurious or can't be, but it's not like a gourmand sweetness, but it's just a really nice ambery, warm sweetness that just kind of pulls you in. And I just think, yeah, get your nose on this one if you haven't. I mean, most people probably have got their nose on this because it's MFK, like who hasn't? But yeah, Grand Soir by MFK, definitely one to try for your next formal or special occasion. The last fragrance on this list is for the ladies. This is a feminine fragrance, very, very feminine, but also really gives luxury, special occasion, and that is Peregrina by Tamine. And this is a fragrance that I wasn't too sure about when I first got it. I think I want to say I blind bought it, but I definitely did smell it a while ago, maybe like a year or two ago. But I kind of just bought it on a whim. And I wasn't too sure at first because I was looking at the notes and I was expecting it to be like really sweet, really floral, just different to how it is. It's a very amber heavy fragrance, very resinous, like those notes, like the myrrh, the amber, like they stand out a lot more than the other notes. So I'm going to read the notes and then we can talk about it. So at the top, we've got damask rose, gardenia, jasmine, lily of the valley. In the middle, we've got caramel, amber, vanilla, myrrh, and ylang ylang. And then in the base, amber again, powdery notes, and white musk. And I'm telling you, this fragrance is like mostly amber and myrrh. Like it's very resinous type of fragrance. And then all the other notes like the vanilla, the caramel are, you know, they're a bit quieter. Gardenia, jasmine, lily of the valley, subtle. Rose, yes, definitely lots of rose in here. So this is a fragrance that could possibly remind you of the Delinas in the way the rose is done in here. But, you know, it doesn't smell similar to Delina, but it does layer really well with Delina. This smells like a really fancy, special occasion, luxury kind of fragrance. It's got that sort of Middle Eastern luxury vibe to it. And I think it's just like the myrrh, the amber, like that sort of resinous vibe that makes this smell like a rich woman in Dubai. Like it's kind of got that vibe, a feminine woman, but she's rich and she lives in Dubai. And yeah, like, why wouldn't you want to try something like this for a special occasion? I think I really do enjoy layering this with Delina Exclusive, but I think even by itself, it has its own merit. I definitely do like to amplify like the sweetness, and obviously the rose in here is quite heavy as well, but I love rose, so I could always do with more rose. So I definitely do like layering this, but I think by itself, it smells a lot more luxurious than layered with Delina Exclusive. I feel like Delina Exclusive doesn't give me luxurious, it gives me more sexy and, you know, night out, whereas this gives me like black tie ball kind of event. So yeah, I think this is a really good option for those really, really special occasions, not just your night out or going to a dinner for someone's birthday, but like a really fancy event. I think this would be a great fragrance. So yeah, Peregrina by Tamine. So I was going to put Ombre Leather by Tom Ford on this list, but I kind of feel like Ombre Leather gives more something you'd wear to an important work meeting. Like if you're going to a really important meeting at work, you know, you're trying to sign a deal, sign a contract, maybe an interview. I feel like ombre leather would be perfect for that. I imagine it in that context a lot more than like a ball or a black tie event. But I think, you know, you could also throw ombre leather on this list if you wanted to. So yeah, let me know in the comments, guys. What do you guys wear when you're really dressed up to the nines? You're going to a black tie event, you're going to a really fancy dinner. What are the kind of fragrances that you like to wear? Do you like any of the fragrances on this list? If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and leave a comment. You know I love to talk with you guys in the comments. And please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video.